Today I'm going to talk about merging two routes in N3V's Trainz Simulator 2019. I'll be merging two routes that you've never seen before, and this will include an exclusive preview of both routes. So let's get into it. In the first part of this video, I'll be showing you how to actually merge two independent routes using the merge facility in Trainz TRS2019 surveyor. Then, I'll run through the procedure to join the two sets of tracks together and weld together the scenery in the original two sets of panels with a short video on the end result. Then I'll give you an exclusive preview of the two individual routes that make up this new one. First, the primary route is a switching layout, which only has a few minor details left to finish, and has been set up to use software from JMRI, in particular the operations module, which can generate a full switch list of trains that run on a particular day, what freight cars to use, where they are located, and where they will be delivered. And the switch lists can be generated for each train that runs on a day. This could be considered a script for TRS 2019 sessions if wanted. And best of all, JMRI operations module can generate switch lists day after day after day in just minutes. This software is meant for model train layouts. However, I have just about finished adapting it to the train simulator product. It should be capable of use in single user sessions, AI train sessions and multiplayer. And while I've not tested it in Dovetail's Train Simulator 2019, I think it should be equally applicable to that sim as well. Which brings us to the second route, which is a staging yard combined with a fiddle yard, adapted to suit the peculiarities of train simulators versus real-world model train layouts. So let's start with the merge process. Away we go. First, let's do a very simple one-panel, one-track merge just to get the method right. Here I have two modules, named below each panel, with just one track on each panel. Note there's some space at the merging point of each module. I'll recommend this because this gives you some working space to match one track to the other once merged. This is practical where the tracks are not too different. For example, they are at the same height and close to the start point of each, as marked here. However, particularly if there is a height difference or they are at opposite sides of the panel, add a panel between the two, on one or the other module, to give you enough room to adjust the tracks to meet somewhere in the middle of the empty panel. It makes life much easier. If they are at right angles to each other, you might have to add two panels to one of the modules to allow a full 90-degree curve to get them pointing in the right direction. Okay, let's open the west module first as the prime merge module. Okay, first I'll open the module called West Basic. This is the first module, and you'll notice on the right hand side there is a space between where the track finishes and where the panel finishes. I'll move into the control panel on the left and select the merge option. This presents a list of eligible modules to merge, and I'll select the partner module, which is East Basic, mentioned earlier and now ready to merge. Now I'll bring up the merge panel and all you'll see is one red square. That signifies the route I just added is overlapping the original panel. So, using the white arrow on the right perimeter, I'll move the eligible route to the right, and now both the panels are adjacent to each other. Then, selecting the Layers button, I can see each panel has a route layer, and this particular duplicated layer needs to be merged together, forming one layer. So I'll select the bottom route layer and hit the merge button at the bottom of the window, and that merges it back to the one above, which happens to be the one I first opened. Now, as if by magic, two routes have been joined at the hip, so to speak. And as you can see, there is a nice convenient space that will allow me to join the two track ends together. But I'll show you anyway. And if you plan correctly as I've instructed, almost any merging of routes can be this simple, providing you don't get layer conflicts. Coming up now, I'll merge the full staging yard route together with the almost complete switching route. My how-to description will be limited as more or less the same procedures I've just shown you. Let's see how that goes. This is the view of the switching route. In fact, this is the end where we'll attach the staging yard module. I'll find the staging yard module and select it into the merge panel. As before, we have some red squares indicating it's overlapping the host route. This is really the only tricky part of merging a route, which is getting your orientation correct and then moving it to the point in the route you want to add it. I now have it located adjacent to the track on the switching route that we first saw at the beginning of this sequence, so we can go through the rest of the merge process right now. As before, we need to decide which route layer is merged with which. Where there's only one route layer for each of the routes being merged, this is a simple decision because as long as we end up with only one, it doesn't matter which one you select. The merge process is now complete, and I have visually confirmed that I've got the right point at the right place. As you can see in this overhead view, all is well. I'm going to speed things up now as it's activity that we've all seen before. Before I do any joining together of track and add some scenery sculpting, I need a basic texture on the empty panel. Then I can work on joining the two tracks together. Now that I have done a rough ground texture mix on the joiner panel / board, I'll join the two route sections with the track. By the way, again this has had the speed increased. Hope that's okay. Later on, I'm going to fill this area with a grain elevator complex. It'll add some extra traffic and operational interests. As I've indicated before in my video on mixing textures that are PBR or plain 2D textures next to various track types, there can be problems. And in this example, I used a third texture with more large texture look, that is, some river rocks, to solve the problem. Of course, another method could have been to add a culvert or even a road across the track at this point. Now I'll start adding some small hills and dips as well as a few other little scenic additions, including a short track embankment. I might add, I'd probably change the track type and ballast texture on one of the routes to match the other, rather than go through all these headaches of a mismatch, but that's for another time. In this image is the small ferry, which would be used as a small interchange yard in operations, adding some interest. This is a small fishing boat repair industry. It doesn't generate any direct traffic, it's just for atmosphere. This industry will generate traffic in and out, shipping for reefer services to ship lobsters and the occasional boxcar received for packaging and sundry items. This medium-sized warehouse manufacturer will generate significant traffic and operations both for receiving and shipping goods. This is an overall view of the spur taking trains to the Tamborine Bay. Most of the workers here at Caswell live in the town of Tamborine Bay. In years past, a special work train was run for workers, but these days they rely on their own motor vehicles. This view shows a minimal service yard for the locomotive assigned here to perform shunting duties. In later years, with the advent of diesel switchers, it has little use, but still has steam locomotive service facilities available for all those who are steam fans. The turntable still has use even after steam has largely disappeared. And as I mentioned earlier, here is a basic layout of the grain elevator complex, which will require a special train just to service its requirements, again adding operational variety to the route. Well, that's about it for this preview, and as I've limited payware objects on this route, I hope to have it available on the download station a little later this year. Let me know in the comments if it interests you, and please add any suggestions to enhance it, particularly if any good ideas come to you. And yes, there is still a lot of detail to be added, including stopping cars when the train passes the road in the town. We're adding TRS2019 clutter and grasses, as well as much more detail that's typical of a small town culture. I hope you've enjoyed this video. This episode of Trainz is standing in front of one of America's most popular Pacific steam locomotives, Pennsylvania Railroad 463K4, this time part of a triple header about to depart. If you have enjoyed this video, I would like to encourage you to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell just to the right of the subscribe button. In addition, by all means, hit that like button. And if you think your friends would like this video, please share it among them. And finally, use the comment section below the video to provide any feedback you may have. It all helps me to keep producing more videos like this, and even some new subjects, content and ideas. Oh. There it goes. On its way. This is exciting. But now, that's it from me. Ferry.